Well, last post I said something wild was bound to happen sooner or later. I wasn't disappointed. See, Mark has been living here for about a week now, and he finally got what he was looking for. Action. It wasn't really in his favor though. See, like I mentioned the patrols he keeps taking me on last post, but I didn't really go into detail. He calls them patrols, but it's honestly more of a scavenger hunt. He even gave me a damn list, like a little kid or something. On the list were specific signs and objects that are indicative of tangible activity. Tangible is fancy talk for monsters. I asked him what an intangible was as a joke, and he nonchalantly said, "Ghosts and other shit that you can't touch." After I realized he was serious, I popped the question. Why not just say monsters and ghosts and shit? He thought for a moment.
Because the people who name this stuff are nerds.
Fair enough, I guess. I'm off on a tangent again. Back to the scavenger hunt. The list he gave me had a lot of stuff on it, and as I was walking through the woods for the second time that day, one thing on the list kept catching my eye. Stairs. Why the fuck would stairs even be on this list? That's not paranormal at all. Also, if there had been stairs in these woods, I would have already found them. That's not something you miss. I mean, I thought this whole search around for stuff idea was stupid from the beginning anyways. I never searched for the hellspawn on this property. It always found me all by itself. The only reason I even participated in Mark's patrols were to humor him, so he wouldn't be as crabby, and because I like to get outside anyway. Even so, stairs? I was looking at the list, eyeing down the word stairs for the millionth time, when it suddenly got dark. Confused, I look up to see that it hasn't actually gotten dark. I was just in a shadow. A shadow that was being cast by a tall, skinny wooden wall. I had been to this exact spot a few days earlier, and there had been no such object. The wall was about 5 feet wide and 10 feet tall, and I somehow almost walked directly into it without realizing. I began to walk around it, and quickly realized it wasn't a wall. Yep, you probably already guessed it. It was the back of a fucking flight of stairs. I was honestly fucking shocked. It was like I had summoned them after thinking about them too much. I immediately called Mark on the radio he had given me for situations like this and yelled, "Dude, I actually found stairs! Like real friggin' stairs out here!" I hadn't been this excited about something in a long time, and I had no idea why I was excited now. I think it had something to do with me thinking the stairs were such a stupid thing to look for, only to end up finding some when I never expected to. Either way, I barely heard Mark respond with,
"Okay, just stay put for a minute. I'll be there soon. And please stop screaming. You're scaring away all the things out there."
He said something else, but I wasn't listening. I was far too engrossed in these stairs. I had to go up them. It wasn't like they were calling to me or anything. It was more of the fact that I was pretty sure I would be able to see my house from the top. So, with Mark still saying unintelligible commands on the radio, I began to ascend. As I walked up the stairs, the woods around me started to quiet down, which is weird in retrospect, but I really didn't pay any attention to that. Another thing I noticed was that there wasn't any leaves or dirt or anything on the steps. Anyone who is experienced in the woods knows that it takes only a few hours for Mother Nature to spread her shit all over any given object that is left in her care. The real anomaly happened when I hit the top step, though. See, the second my heel hit the top step, I heard Mark let out a
What in the... son of a bitch!
I froze. I started weighing my options. If I let whatever was out there kill Mark, I wouldn't have to deal with him anymore. I also told myself I wasn't going to kill people anymore. Does it really count as killing him if I just let him die, though? They'd probably just replace him anyways. I guess I'll go help. And with that thought, I went to go help him. I honestly expected there to be a pail clamped onto his foot, or for him to have fallen into one of Camo's traps. But alas, all I found was Mark, without shoes on, just socks, clenching the toes of each of his feet in his hands. Before I could even ask him what was going on, he stuttered,
You went on the damn stairs, didn't you?
Yes? And why does that matter? I'm telling you, if looks could castrate...
Bad shit happens when you go up the stairs, you dick. I told you over the radio not to go up them.
Must have missed that part. What happened to you anyways? Now, this part is kinda nasty. Mark let go of the end of one of his socks to reveal that the toe area was covered in blood. He then removed the sock, and I shit you not, all of his toenails were gone. Damn, how'd you manage that?
Are you daft, Cole? You did this when you went up those stairs.
Yeah, sounds stupid, I know. But I kinda believed him, because I know for a fact that those stairs weren't normal. I'm certain of this because when I went back to where they were to show Mark, who was now limping, they weren't there anymore. Just disappeared. Mark wasn't surprised by this either. And in case you were wondering, no, I could not see my house from the top, which was a bummer. That's about it for the stairs, but something else did happen yesterday, the day after the stair incident. I actually met a brand new monster. Well, at least new to me, anyway. I think Mark knew what it was, but he won't tell me. Gave him the spooks, though. See, as you may have already gathered, it happened on one of Mark's patrols. He was actually adjusting to life without toenails pretty good, I'll give him that. The night before, he took a large amount of bandages and some rubbing alcohol from my bathroom. Guess he did a good job on himself because he was walking pretty close to normal now. I did hear a lot of groaning and heavy breathing that night in my living room though. I hope it was him patching himself up and not him having fun on his laptop, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, we were walking through an area of the woods that stays somewhat dark during the day due to the dense tree cover blocking out most of the sun. Other than the lack of light, everything seemed pretty docile. That was until Mark started complaining about a noise.
Cole, do you hear that? I think it's like static or something.
What? No, I don't hear a thing. Mark put a hand on my chest, stopping me mid-sentence. I look over at him to see what's up, and he's staring at me with extremely wide eyes.
We need to get to the house. Now!
I had never seen him get this flustered, so I knew things were serious. I nodded, and we both turned to run to the house, but the tall man was already blocking the way. Now, when I say tall man, I mean really, really tall man. I'm also fairly certain he wasn't a man. Tall man just makes a good name. It was between 10 and 12 feet tall, and was wearing clothes made of what looked like dirty brown and tan rags stitched together. These rags covered his body, including his hands, feet, and face. He was also thin, but something deep in my gut told me that he held some kind of unnatural strength. As his image sank into my brain, I heard Mark whisper,
Holy shit. It's really one of them.
Off to my left. There was complete silence for a while. Not actually sure how long. The only thing that I could hear was a slight static buzzing sound. No one moved in the silence. Not Mark, not me, not the pail that was about to bite into Mark's leg while he was distracted. Wait. Holy shit! Mark, look out! Pail, on your right! With surprising speed, Mark pulled out his Glock and put 2 shots in the pale's head. It didn't move after that, but the tall man did. The sudden scuffle seemed to set the tall bastard off into a rage, and the one subtle static sound grew into a roar. It was like no sound I had ever heard before. Maybe something like the sound of metal being ground up by other metal. However, the sound was the least of our worries. It started sprinting at us. It was originally about 30 yards away, but it seemed to cover the distance in the blink of an eye. He was on us before we could react. He went for Mark first. Reached out for him with one of those long, skinny arms. His fingers seemed to stretch out just so that they could reach all the way around Mark's torso. As Mark was lifted off of the ground, kicking and yelling, he emptied the rest of his clip into the tall man's head. It did nothing. That's about the time when the big black tentacles ruptured out from the creature's back, 6 new weapons now ripping holes in the rags. This thing must be terrible at making its own clothes. Like, how hard would it be just to make tentacle holes so you don't end up ripping your shirt? Anyway, I really didn't want this big fella ripping Mark up, so I had to figure something out. Before it managed to obliterate old Marky, I drew my gun and emptied my entire clip into various parts of the monster in an effort to find a weak spot. No luck. In fact, the bullets bounced off of him. Okay? This isn't normal. One of them whizzed right past my ear. It was like under those rags, he was made of steel or something. But I'm no quitter. I now had his attention, and I'm pretty sure Mark was going unconscious at this point, because he couldn't breathe due to that thing's death grip. I drew my brand new Bear Grylls survival knife and lunged at him with all my strength. Tried to get him in the leg, but I didn't stab him. If bullets couldn't get through this thing's skin, my knife didn't have a chance. But I had a plan. I got behind it, only to get snatched into the air by one of its tentacles. I was immediately faced to, rags with this thing. Its tentacle was wrapped tightly around my stomach. It now had both Mark and I exactly where it wanted. I swear, I could hear a deep demonic laughter within the still roaring static that filled my brain. But it stopped laughing when I started. I began scream laughing, not sure why. Sometimes, I think I might actually be insane. Now, look, the tall man cocked his head to the side as if saying, "You do know you lost, right?" The only thing I was able to say before the last of my air was squeezed out of me was, "I really hope this fucking works." And with that, I took the knife that was still in my hand and sliced at the tentacle as hard as I could. My hope was that, since the tentacle could move so fluidly, the skin would have been softer and weaker. Otherwise, it would be stiff and not flexible. Oh, how right that theory was. I was met with a spray of hot black liquid and the static sound morphing into the sound of nails on chalkboard. I fell about 7 or 8 feet to the ground and landed flat on my back. That shit hurt. But adrenaline is a hell of a chemical, so I was back on my feet almost immediately. 2 things I noticed off the bat. It was still holding a now unconscious Mark, and my attack hadn't quite managed to slice through the entire tentacle. But I was close. The thing seemed to be deciding on whether to retreat or try to kill me again. I took advantage of a slight hesitation and leapt at the now limp tentacle. I grabbed it and yanked it with all the force I could muster. Now it completely severed itself from the beast. Suddenly, all the sounds in my head stopped, and I heard Mark hit the ground off to my right. I looked up, only to see the tall man's covered head aimed at its now disconnected appendage. Then at me, then at the woods behind him, then at me, then at his tentacle. Something tells me he's never been injured before. After he finished looking around at all this shit, he bolted backwards just as fast as he had approached us before. Yes, he sprinted off backwards. What is it with monsters and running backwards? Seems silly to me. And dangerous. Do you know how fucking easy it must be to trip and fall like that? Anyway, I ended up having to carry old Mark over my shoulder back to the house. And he could stand to lose a few pounds. Not to fat shame. He woke up a few hours later and interrogated me on how I had managed to scare the thing off after he'd passed out. I told him I just ripped off my clothes and started running at the thing until it ran off. Mark said he won't let me see the thing's files until I tell him what really happened. But I want to sell the naked story. Maybe I'll tell him what really happened later. And I'll let y'all know the real name of the creature. Or maybe I'll keep trying to convince Mark that while he's a monster hunter, I'm a monster predator. So, that's it for now though, guys. I'll post again soon. In case you were wondering, I haven't seen Skinny in a few days, and I still haven't heard from the lady in the tree in a while. But life goes on, right? Be sure to check out the other parts of this series. I'll have links below. Until next time, Cole, signing off.